Hey, what's happening, Oasis? This is the Oasis show. My name is Alex Cormier. For those of you who don't know me, so I was asked by Clarissa to host the Oasis show for today, and and she asked me to share maybe some steps to keep us grounded in these uncertain times and times of stress. It's really important to take care of our emotional well-being, especially in these times where there's a lot of uncertainty in a lot of people's lives, especially in business. It's not much. I want to say it's not much different than any other day because most days are uncertain. We don't really know what can happen on any given day, but this is more of a collective, shared disruption in our lives and can create a lot of stress and emotional turbulence, especially in business with a lot of moving parts and a lot of unknowns and a lot of restrictions. So I wanted to, when Clarissa asked me to hop on here and to host a show and to share some tips, obviously I gladly accepted. I went through the Oasis program last fall. It was really helpful in helping me get some guidance and um, make some and foster some really positive relationships as well. It was really a great experience and a great program. And just to share a little bit about me and who I am, my name is Alex Cormier, and I'm a mindfulness coach and consultant, alchemist, clarity artist, and adventure seeker. So I don't like to define myself with one label, multiple things. And one thing that I really love to do is help professionals and business owners to incorporate mindfulness attitudes and practices into their lives so that they can live with more calm, ease, and confidence in their life to be able to live with more happiness and presence so that they can really be their best, even in times of stress. And so, that's really what I love to do. That's those types of people I really love to work with. And so today I really wanted to share with you, a three-step process that I share with my clients that I use personally in order to stay calm, focused, and grounded in times of stress or fear or just overwhelm and anxiety. All these emotions are very similar, and to shift out of them, you really only need simple practices and ways to shift out of those thoughts, but it really takes an understanding of what is the root cause of the stress or the emotion, right? The overwhelm, and being able to, uh, practice and learn the tools that will help you move through those emotions and transmute them into more calm and more focus so that you can actually show up and do your best even in the times of stress and maybe overwhelm. And so, just to share with you a little bit about the root cause of stress and overwhelm. And the majority of, the biggest source of our stress and our overwhelm and anxiety and fear is really our thought process. It's really how we're seeing our situation, how we're thinking about it, what we're believing about it. And so, the three things that come into our thought processes are beliefs. So a belief that I can't do this, and the perspective of, kind of reframing the perspective, right? Like, what's really important in your life. Because often even the things that, appear very, very bad and tend to, we tend to experience a lot of stress. Maybe it's loss of revenue in your business, maybe it's loss of income, whatever. Those are probably the biggest stressors for a lot of people right now, just worrying about that, thinking about that. And so when you think about, when you put things in perspective and you think about what's really important, right? But when we focus on, the unknown, we focus on the stress and the worry and the fear, we're just giving that more power, and we're just fueling and amplifying and intensifying our emotions. So, you know, when we allow ourselves to recognize that, we put our focus and how when we put things in perspective, really, when we ask ourselves what's really important, we allow ourselves more space to be able to really understand where we're at and what we need to focus on in order to kind of move through that. And the other aspect of like our thought process is like our opinions and judgments. So the shoulds, right? The expectations that we have about how we think things should be, right? when we put a judgment on things, we're not open to new possibilities. We're putting something in a black or white box, right? A judgment is very it's closed, and when we are in this space of judging our situation and putting expectations like, oh, it's not fair, it shouldn't be this way, we're kind of resisting our reality, and that creates more unnecessary suffering. So the 3-step process that I want to share with you is RAS. It's a simple 3-step process based in mindfulness and neuroscience. And RAS is the first step is recognize. So you want to, first step in any kind of shifting out of emotional states is recognizing that you are in a state of stress or overwhelm or anxiety. So the first step is the stage of awareness and acceptance. So it's recognizing that I am experiencing stress, and accept and just being aware and accepting and taking responsibility for your emotions. Now, in this stage, you want to be aware of not identifying yourself with your emotions and your emotional state. So instead of saying I am stressed or I am stressed out, telling yourself that I'm experiencing stress. When we dissociate from our emotions, we don't identify with them, we don't give it more fuel, and we're able to look at and stand with our emotions in an observation versus really like being overwhelmed and embodying and kind of letting and fueling that emotion. When we're able to look at things from an observer point of view and an objective point of view, we give it less power. But when we identify with our emotions versus saying, like I am stressed or I'm stressed out, versus, instead of saying I'm experiencing stress, it's more of a temporary thing. So, every emotion, emotions are like waves. They're like water, right? They flow in and out of us, but it can be, they can also stay stagnant if we suppress them or we don't, deal with them properly and process them properly in a healthy way. That's another discussion for another time. But, essentially, we want to allow our emotions to pass through us, and it's okay to feel stress and anxiety and these things, but it's learning how to self-regulate and shift out of those states so that you can stay calm and focused and grounded in those high stress times, right? In times of uncertainty and things like that. So you want to make sure in that stage where you recognize, where you become aware and of your emotional state, and you take responsibility and ownership for your circumstance and your emotions, instead of blaming, like, I'm stressed out because of this, or, it's because of this that I have to deal with that. So like kind of putting blame outside of yourself. Anytime we do that, we don't want to, we give our power away to do something about it, right? Our emotions and how we feel is our responsibility. So the first thing in that recognition stage is really accepting and taking ownership and responsibility for our emotions. Because again, the root cause of your stress, of anyone's stress or overwhelm or anxiety, is really coming from their interpretation of their situation and not taking responsibility or accepting, or they're resisting their circumstance. So anytime that we resist our current reality, so if your current reality sucks, it's not easy to accept, and we tend to want to blame or to kind of, not take responsibility. We want to put the blame on someone else or something else outside of ourselves. It's easier and it's less painful. But the quicker we can come to accept our circumstance, take ownership, take responsibility, and take responsibility and ownership of our emotions as well, the quicker we'll move through them and move past them. So, resistance. So the key thing here is resistance to your circumstance, resistance to your emotions will actually create more suffering in your life. So the quicker you can come to recognize, become aware that you're experiencing maybe this emotional state and taking responsibility for doing something about it, the quicker you'll move through them. So the first thing is just recognizing that you're, experiencing maybe this stress, this overwhelm. Once you become aware and you accept, take responsibility for your stress, for your overwhelm, then you can move into the second stage or the second step of the process of RAS, which is anchoring. So you want to anchor yourself in the present moment. Anytime that we're experiencing stress or overwhelm or anxiety, we're thinking too far ahead. We're thinking, we have too many things in our head, and we're thinking in the future, right? We're imagining scenarios that may not be real or may not happen. That's creating the stress and the anxiety. So, when you ground yourself, when you anchor yourself in the present moment, you're allowing yourself to be present with what's in front of you and not what may or may not happen or what could happen. And that allows you to harness and to take your power back again, so that you can actually do something and move through and actually find a solution to the things that you're maybe struggling with, right? Whatever aspect of your business or life that you might be experiencing stress. So anchor is the second step, is the presence and grounding stage of this process. So you want to, breathe deeply into your stomach for about 2 minutes with your eyes closed if possible. The reason why you want to close your eyes, this is just a little mini mindful moment transition meditation that I like to call it. It's just taking a couple minutes to reset your nervous system, because what's happening when you're in a state of stress and anxiety, you're in a fight or flight mode, which is releasing a ton of cortisol and the stress hormone in your body, which is restricting your blood flow, and you're not accessing your full capacity of brain power, creativity, and creating solutions. So you're in a very primal, reactive state versus a conscious, state where you can actually respond in a more positive light. So breathing, deeply, you can even do this right now if you want to take a moment. Just take a deep breath into your belly. And you can just exhale through your mouth. It takes, just a few breaths to really just reset your nervous system, to really just ground yourself and anchor yourself. Your breath is the anchor to your present moment, right? The breath can only be here and now. It cannot be in the future. So your breath is your number one tool in order to keep yourself grounded and centered, and bringing yourself and anchoring yourself into the present moment, so that you can actually look at your situation in that frame of mind, in that state, versus looking at your situation in a state of future tense and overwhelm, which kind of can create confusion or just increase and amplify the feelings of stress. So when you do this for I would recommend at least a couple minutes, just closing your eyes, breathing deeply into your stomach, and then when you do that, just paying attention to your breath, focusing on your breath and observing your thoughts. So you want to observe your thoughts flow into your awareness. So you want to allow your subconscious mind to just, let your thoughts flow. Just don't try to control them. Just focus on your breath and just let them flow. Let the thoughts flow and just pay attention to them. Allow them to be there, and then just let them go and return to your breath. So as you get distracted by a thought, return to your breath, bring yourself back, continue to anchor yourself back into the present moment. And then once you become more aware of the internal dialogue that's going on when you're in that state, you can pay attention. You can recognize and become aware of the thoughts that are leading to the stress, right? You can pinpoint, how you're seeing your situation, how you're thinking about it, what you're believing about it, that's leading and creating the stress. So that then you can move into the third step, which is basically shift. So the third step is shift. That's this third third step of the RAS method. So it's recognize, anchor, and shift. And the shift process comes after you've been able to just kind of observe your internal world, your inner chatter, your monkey chatter inside the brain. And then you can kind of pinpoint, again, like I said, which thoughts and how you're thinking about your situation that's creating the stress, right? So the third step of shifting your energy, shifting your emotion, shifting your thoughts is about focus and action. So that's the focus and action stage of the process. So in the shift process, you want to kind of be curious and ask yourself, what am I believing about my situation, or how am I seeing this? What am I thinking that's making me feel this way? And often you'll recognize that it's coming from a place of an expectation or a resistance or a denial or blame. So you're kind of pushing things outside of, you're not accepting your reality for what it is, right? You don't want to take, you're looking for a way to basically to give the responsibility away, essentially. Is kind of, it's how we're designed. We're designed to kind of push things outside of ourselves because it's easier, right? And it's not as painful. But that takes our power away to actually do something about it and to heal ourselves, or to transmute our emotional state, or to process and allow ourselves to step into a more positive, grounded state. So, um, so you want to just kind of, ask yourself, what did you notice when you were in your anchoring stage? What did you notice your thoughts doing, right? What were you thinking about? What was coming up? So then you can identify, what it is that you can do in order to shift out of that. So, changing your thoughts and your perspective, right? What's a more positive and empowering way to see your situation, to think about this? So asking yourself that one question can be very powerful, just shifting your thought process away from the shoulds and the blame and the judgments of the things and opinions and beliefs that you have about your situation that's creating the stress. And then, so just changing your thoughts and perspective by asking yourself, what's a more positive and empowering way to think about this? So that's one question you can do. And then the two other things that I would recommend in the shift phase. And the shift phase is really about either changing your thoughts, changing your perspective, or doing something about it, right? Taking action. Because, action can sometimes be the only real way to kind of deal with the thing that's maybe creating or triggering the stress inside of you, right? So planning ahead and asking yourself, what can I do right now? So, I've often experienced, in my clients' life sometimes, where maybe they have a bunch of stuff kind of come in at once. They're feeling overwhelmed. We often take time to just break things down, plan ahead, so that you can kind of dump out all of the things that's in your head. Often overwhelm and stress and anxiety is just this overthinking of all of the things in your head, right? So, all the things that you need to do, all the things that you could do, that you didn't do, all of these things are kind of in your head. But when you put them on paper, plan ahead, and just kind of do a brain dump, it just creates more mental clarity and more focus and just more feelings of being calm and centered and able to move forward. So in this shift stage, again, the main things you want to do is just shift the way you're thinking about it, shift your thoughts and perspective on it, and just ask yourself simple questions like, what can I do right now? Or, what's a more positive, empowering way to think about this? And you want to, plan ahead, or at least do a brain dump, whatever's on your mind, just write it all out on paper. It allows you to kind of shift out of that state of overwhelm and get more clear and specific on what you need to do, or a different way to look at it. So I hope that was really helpful for you guys. It's a really simple process, and it doesn't have to be, complicated. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. Just recognize and anchor and shift. It's really that simple. It's not always easy to shift out of those states. Our emotions can feel very powerful at times, and it's kind of like a never-ending cycle, right? Our thoughts feed our emotions feed our thoughts, right? It's a perpetual cycle. And so, when your emotions are very intense, they'll trigger more thoughts, right? If you're feeling stressed, you're going to get thoughts like, I'm so stressed out, or, I'm just really stressed right now, right? So when we feel that, then we think that, and we think that, we amplify the emotion again. So by shifting the thoughts, we're going to start to shift our emotional state. So really simple stuff. If you guys want to, if you're new to meditation, you're new to this kind of, like mindfulness and mindfulness attitudes, which really help you live with more calm, more ease, and more confidence in order to move through these difficult emotional states that can really disrupt our productivity and our well-being and our relationships. you can always reach out to me. I'm more than happy to just have a conversation with you, send you some resources, some videos, or some things that might be able to help you. And I'm always happy to just jump on the phone and just have a quick chat and see where you're at, help you move through those difficult times, and help set up, some routines and practices that might be able to help you move through those things with a little bit more ease and grace and joy and confidence. So hope that was helpful, and just to kind of go back and just kind of go over those again. So just recognize, anchor, and shift. That's all you need to remember. RAS. Recognize the emotion, become aware of it, accept it, take responsibility, take ownership for it. Anchor yourself in the present moment with some deep breathing. Just observe and allow your thoughts to flow, and just pay attention to what you notice your thoughts doing and where you're putting your focus. And then shift out of it by shifting your thoughts, shifting your perspective, shifting how you're seeing it, and asking yourself simple questions like, what can I do right now in this moment to help alleviate this pressure, this stress, or whatever I'm feeling. And that could be simple as maybe taking a break. Maybe it's just having a conversation with someone, right? Whatever that might be, whatever that next step is up to you to figure out, or to clarify, that can help you the most in that moment. And simple things like just planning ahead, doing a brain dump of all the things that you need to do, getting out of your head onto paper, clear up more space, free up some emotional energy, and help you stay grounded and focused in those times of stress. So thanks, everyone. And, like I said, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions, or if you need meditation or want to learn more. I'm more than happy to help you. Peace.